We have all heard of the calm before the storm, but apparently the NFL doesn't believe in that, as we are exactly 1 week away from NFL free agency, and it is already going crazy, and the Kansas City Chiefs made a couple big headlines today, so we're going to discuss, we're going to recap, but before we do all of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, because I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chiefs related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. Man, now I knew it would get crazy before this NFL free agent period because there's a lot of teams that need to restructure deals, tag players, release players. They want to free up all this cap space to be big ballers in this free agent period. And the Kansas City Chiefs have some huge decisions looming over their head. Well, we got a resolution to two. Kinda, sorta. You know what? Let's not even play around no more. Let's just get right into it, and we'll get into the first one, which the Kansas City Chiefs will not, I repeat, will not franchise tag Orlando Brown Jr. And this is a big shock because my first initial reaction to this, which I think everyone in the NFL media world, Chiefs Kingdom, was like, wow. Like, we may have come to a conclusion that maybe Orlando Brown and the Kansas City Chiefs won't have a long-term deal. That may be so. But the fact that Kansas City Chiefs aren't going to franchise tag him, that caught us all off guard. Because my first initial reaction to this was, they got to be close to a deal. There's no way. Like, for a report like that to come out means the Kansas City Chiefs believe they will get a deal done with Orlando Brown Jr. before the league year starts next week. And I'm still I'm still on that. But as well, there's more reports coming out that the Kansas City Chiefs and Brett Veach will stand their ground, which they should. This Orlando Brown Jr. is not someone who you need to have reset the market, and especially with your team either. He is not the best left tackle in the league. I don't even know if he's a top 5 tackle in the league. Is he a good left tackle? Yes, I will give him that. But is he someone who needs to shatter the bank and also keep you cap strap hold for years to come? If Brett Veach doesn't believe so, we preach, in Veach we trust. And this is where it's going to be a prime example. I might feel a little altered if we didn't trade Tyreek Hill last year, lose Charvarius Ward, lose Tyrann Mathieu, and not win a Super Bowl this year. But I fully believe in everything Brett Veach is going to do this offseason, and it all starts off with Orlando Brown Jr. It'll all start moving like a puzzle piece. Well, I don't even know what to expect. If you're going to ask me to predict the future and what the Kansas City Chiefs might do, if they re-sign Orlando Brown Jr. before free agency or if they let him walk. You're going to get a full live look in my head right now, and I believe it's leaning toward that Orlando Brown Jr. might be playing with another team next year. You could say all you want that Brett Veach is playing hardball. Orlando Brown Jr. is playing hardball. Orlando Brown Jr. wants to be one of the highest paid, if not highest paid left tackles in the league. And Brett Veach doesn't value him in that way. Not saying he doesn't value left tackle in that way. He just doesn't value Orlando Brown's production, which is rightfully so. And a great question to basically throw out there is like, yes, he had a great playoff stretch, but man, when you pay someone that type of money, you're paying for all 20 games at that point. Like, I'm not paying for 3 games when I'm going to pay you almost 20 to 25 million a year, because I believe Orlando Brown Jr. wants to be in that 22 to 23, and I believe the Kansas City Chiefs are in that 18 to 20, and then I think the guaranteed is what's tying it up. And I don't know if the contract looks much different than it did last year, because let's be real, Orlando Brown on a contract year and a prove it year, I mean, he didn't really prove it to me. Again, I'm not sliding Orlando Brown Jr. whatsoever, but in a prove it year, you would think, man, I elevated my status. I proved I deserve to be one of the top paid left tackles. And I just don't think he solidified that at all. Now, if he is to hit the open market, yeah, someone will probably pay him that, but let that other team deal with that cap strap situation, because Kansas City Chiefs, they're contending for Super Bowls every year. If he signs with someone like, let's say, the Bears, who have $100 million in cap space, they can throw around that money as much as they want, and they get their left tackle of the future. I've seen what Brett Veach has done in free agency when he makes trades, and maybe in the draft too. And that's something we're going to focus on here is maybe there's a left tackle he likes in the draft. I know the Kansas City Chiefs have the 31st overall pick, but man, if he could package up some picks together and get into the top 15 and get a left tackle, just imagine what that does for the Chiefs in the future. Like literally, the Chiefs will already have contract decisions to make next year with a Joe Thuney and a Creed Humphrey. So if you tie down someone like Orlando Brown, it's like, well, you're moving away from a Joe Thuney now probably because he's an older vested vet, and I would believe you would keep Creed Humphrey because he is an up and rising star that is probably the best center in the game already. So I think this is showing they value Joe Thuney more than they value Orlando Brown, which I think is rightfully so. Again, people are going to be like, how are you going to value a guard more than a left tackle? Again, yes, the left tackle position is more important than a left guard position, but at the end of the day, Joe Thuney is elite. And that whole interior with Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, and Joe Thuney, that is elite. And if you just have a couple question marks at right tackle and left tackle, huge question marks. But if you can address them in a draft where you basically get someone on a 5-year deal, rookie deal, and is a great pass protector, run blocker, again, I can't predict that far in the future, but it'd be way cheaper than Orlando Brown Jr. Or you can take a guy like, and I'm not even really want to throw this out there, but for example, a vested vet in Taylor Lewan, who, yes, he is injury prone, but he has proven that he can be a really good left tackle in this league. You give him a 1-year proven deal as well, and you just have him blocking, and you draft a guy to be behind him and go with that. There are options. Are there plenty sexy options out there? No. But we have one of the best, we have the best GM in the league who has gotten us out of situations like this before, and we're holding a Lombardi. So I'm not going to question any move going forward. If we sign Orlando Brown Jr. to a long-term deal, that's great, because that means Orlando Brown agreed to the Kansas City Chiefs contract and Kansas City isn't overpaying for him. But if Orlando Brown Jr. walks, for some reason, I still feel very, very confident that the Kansas City Chiefs will be good moving forward. Now, this next bit of news, it got me a little bit emotional, and it's the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs will release Frank Clark before the new year starts. And man, this one basically affects me more than losing an Orlando Brown Jr. Now, it's two different positions, two way different type of impacts on the team, but man, Frank Clark has meant so much to this team. And now, yes, you're going to get your naysayers who will say, Frank Clark didn't live up to that trade value. He never gave us really good production, yada, yada, yada. If the Kansas City Chiefs were to rewind 4 years ago and trade a first-round pick for Frank Clark, would they do it again? Hell yes, they would. I don't really care about the regular season production. I mean, I do, but I don't. What I've seen and what will make Frank Clark a legend in the Kansas City Chiefs and Chiefs Kingdom for years and years to come is what he did for us in the playoffs, and the fact he brought 2 Lombardis to Arrowhead and to the Kansas City Chiefs. He was a major factor in both of those, and he just brings a different type of attitude, a different type of swagger to the locker room that will be gratefully missed. But also, before I say I do miss a player, I'm still holding out very high hopes that we bring him back. We know his relationship with Coach Reed. We know his relationship in the locker room that I just mentioned a little bit ago. It is tight. They love him so much. Now, as a business standpoint, I completely understand it because he was set to make a little less than $30 million a year. And that's where that regular season production just doesn't match that dollar sign. So they try to rework a deal and it didn't happen. But what could happen is the Kansas City Chiefs could bring him back on a different new deal. And I think that might be what works out best, because when you try to restructure a deal that has all that money tied up and you're trying to push money around, it might make it difficult to rework that contract. So release him, start over, and see what happened. But I'm not going to lie, he will probably be a hot commodity because, one, you see what he does in the playoffs, and also, he's just 29. And as I always mention, for some reason, somehow, these pass rushers get better when they're older, and when you just tell them, just get the quarterback, that's all they do. So I definitely believe Frank Clark will be a hot commodity. I just hope, and I do believe, that he loves Kansas City, he loves Chiefs Kingdom, and he doesn't want to leave. You could tell. You could just see it in those playoff runs, in every playoff run, actually, how emotional he gets, how invested, and the love he shows for Chiefs Kingdom. this was definitely some tough news. Not surprising news because I expected it. I expected more of a restructure, but at the end of the day, I do understand because when a cap hit is so high, it's hard to rework around those things. But maybe they can bring him in on a cheaper deal. Maybe his new role will be like, not a new role, but he could be your rotational guy moving forward. And with a new deal like that, a cheaper deal, you can bring in more pass rushers. You can draft more guys. It gives the Kansas City Chiefs more flexibility in this free agency to be like, hey, we could still go after players. And that's the main thing a lot of people and Chiefs Kingdom have to focus on. Yes, the news like this, or Orlando Brown Jr. not being tagged, or Frank Clark getting released, initially, yes, it will be very tough. It'll be very surprising. But Brett Veach always has a plan, and he will always get the right people in the right role on this team to make sure we will get back to the Super Bowl. He has proven it. It has always happened. So there's no questioning what he will do. It's just the initial punch always hurts, but Brett Veach always has that counter punch. And when he counter punches, 9 times out of 10, he will knock you out with that. With that Chiefs Kingdom, it was a busy day, and it's just getting started. It's just Monday. We're not even in the free agency period yet. Look for news like maybe a Chris Jones extension coming up. The Kansas City Chiefs are trying to open up a lot of cap space. They did today. Well, they will when they release Frank Clark. That will open up $21 million. I think that'll put them around $18 million in free cap space because I know they're in the negative right now, but that helps out immensely. And then if you extend to Chris Jones, that opens up like another $20 million. The Kansas City Chiefs want to be players in free agency, and they want to be players in this draft to make sure they hold up the Lombardi and go back to back. It's going to be a busy week, and then it's going to be a busy few weeks. So you already know what to do. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel because I will keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And if you did like this video, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button. With that, I am checking out. Y'all take care.